I'm too enthusiastic and I want to show you how I do my sudoku without actually having the bad format. So, let's start with a puzzle I've already solved and forget about any of the details about how you actually solve it. So, the first thing is obviously you can pick up auto candidate mode. If there's any numbers that are the only number that can fit in that box, and you find both of those instances, for example, this can't be 7 and 3. Those are already taken. So you have a 4 here. This can't be 7 and 3 also. You would remove them, but you could just say it's not, it's the only number that's left. That's a 2. Then you have other such patterns. The 7 3 also blocks this column specifically, everywhere there. So you can easily take out the candidate of 7 3, 3, 7 3, and 3 because they cannot show up there. Next, you can look at, for example, this box and notice how there must be at least 5 or 9. And if the 2 wasn't there, then you would say, well, this can't be 9. But that's too early to say right now. Again, 7 3 equals not 3. So we remove that from this row. And then we end up with the 9 here and the 6 there. Another thing that's important to think of is, again, in the box, the same number is found, so you know where both of those numbers must be in those 2 spots. They can't be here. They can't be there, here, or there. So the only numbers left are the 1, 2, 5, and 8. And we might not know where they are, but at least we know there's a 4 down here. I literally just solved this, so it's not important for me to finish this puzzle. But instead of doing stuff like looking for where the 5s must go, because they have to go by Sudoku in those positions, you can do other things. Especially with candidate, you can get a lot of information. I'm technically lost, which is funny. In this entire column, there's only this 1, so we can just place that 1. And then, because of that, there's lots of other things that are less. And there's only a 3 in this column, in this box. Along the same column, there are false 3s that we can remove. Then we notice the 4 is the only 4 in the column, so we can just place that. The next thing I would probably notice is I'm not sure. There could be something about these 6s. They only could go in that column. But so that doesn't tell us a lot. There's not a lot to say about the rest. In fact, there's very little to say about 6s in general. But they have to be here and here in this box, which gives us slightly nothing. In this entire box, that's the lone 7. 8 5, and this 8 5 means this one has to be the 3. Or I should say, because 3 can't go anywhere else, by the same logic, that's how you know where to put the 3. Then we have a bunch of 2s and these other 2s. You got this 3 up here, as well as these other 3s. There should be something else that stands out that's obvious. The thing is, since I did the hard, it's kind of not direct which one of these bits of information I'm supposed to find. 82821. I'm actually lost because my brain's been out of this puzzle for a second too long. And again, I don't really care if I solve this puzzle. I already solved it earlier today. But I just wanted to explain a little bit more about how you can solve these puzzles. So I guess the next thing you could say is, well, 2s have to be somewhere. That's hard to pin down. Sevens, the 3. Sometimes if I'm getting stuck, I can think of using binary. But in my original solve, I never used binary, and it would be a weird twist to end up using it now. 8, 3, 8, 3, 8, 2, 3, I don't know. 4, alternate. This is taking a bit of time. It is embarrassing, to be honest. Got these 3s on the bottom. No. 6, 5. No. Not enough to go on. If I look in this column, I see 1 here or up there, so that doesn't help. Oh, 7, 3. Nope. That doesn't tell me anything about this column. I'm actually lost. If I were to look in this, we see 6 has to go in this column, but I've already said that earlier, and it doesn't help anything. There should be something about the fact that 2, 1, 2, 8, but that doesn't actually help. Wow, I'm completely lost. Probably because I've already processed this puzzle. This is the lone 4 in the puzzle. In that column, or in that row, and I could have found that by sudoku. Whoops. Too many spaces. 8, 9 can go. 8 is entirely unknown. 3 is almost completely unknown. 7, I mean, there has to be a 7 here. There are other 7s. 4. Very limited on the information of 4. Wow, why am I so stuck? Well, it took me 15 minutes to do this the first time. It shouldn't take any less time. Well, actually, it should be easier because of hindsight, but my goldfish brain has me stumped. Okay, let me think. There's another thing when it comes to these numbers that if you see, for example, 2, 9, 2, or 5, 9, 2, 5, 9, and if you see that same thing somewhere else alone, then that's the triple of that, and then you can't have more of that same thing. For example, if there was 8, 5, 3, if that was alone, if the 9 was forced to be here already, then that would be 8, 5, 3, and then you could mix those to say that other things must also be true. Everything except for the 6 is indicated in these. The 9, the 7, 3. If 3 and 7 must be in here, that's pretty good. Although they could be in anywhere in that column. Then 9 is remainder and 6 is up there. Oh, that's not alone 8. That's 8, 5, 6. The 9 could also be. Here I am talking about tutorial. I can't even solve this